Oh, okay. Welcome, everyone. Can you see my screen and slides, everything? Good?
Everything looks good.
Okay, thank you. All right, so welcome to this class. It's called Introduction to Data Analysis and Visualization with Power BI. And, you're going to learn today. Today is going to be a little bit of theory and then a little bit of, actual lab. So we're going to do both as much as we can. You're going to learn what is data analysis, and then we will start looking at Power BI. Okay, so that's the class, and we will have 5 class meetings. And what is the goal of this class? Very quickly, we're going to learn data analysis by doing. We will learn how to import, clean, and transform data. We're going to learn how to do data models and dashboards. And then, everything we do, we are going to get hands-on experience. So by 5 weeks, in 5 classes, if you follow, these are 1-hour modules, and if you do some of your own, you're not going to be a Power BI expert, right? But you're going to be enough knowledgeable to actually work with Power BI, work with people who knows Power BI, and intelligently talk about Power BI. So you're going to learn a lot more about Power BI, and also you'll be able to appreciate a lot of features that Power BI has. And you will be able to create your own dashboard. And I will show you at the end, even maybe today as well, how to publish and share your dashboards. Most of us who work in the corporate world, we have SharePoint and Power BI, all those things are part of the subscription models that we have from Microsoft, in the business side. If you are using your personal computer or personal account, which I suggest, we're going to have very limited ability to publish, which is fine. Because right now, if I publish, only I can see, but it's still publication. Don't try to use your office computer here, because we might be sharing our own data and own things. You don't want to kind of mix that up. So publication, I will show you how to do it, and it's going to be very easy, straightforward. But just remember that what we are doing in the sandbox, your actual publication in the production environment is going to be much more powerful. All right. But we'll talk about that in this class. Does anyone have any question before I move on? What we're going to learn in 5 days?
We're good.
All right. So this is a little bit about class logistics. We have May 15, 22nd, 29, June 5, and June 12. So we have 5 weeks, 5 classes, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. We might go a minute or few extra, but I try to stay within the time frame and respect everybody's time. If anyone has any question, please talk to me after the class so we can actually cover the class's agenda. But if you do have question, we can also cover that within the class as well. If I see that we are getting too much into the question, I will say, okay, we're going to talk about that later on. And this class is going to have all the lectures recorded. And then I will upload the lectures and share it with you later on. So you can actually refer that, and then we can have conversation as well. And you have the Zoom link. So this is the class logistics. And now something extra that you might or might not be aware of, which is there is a Power BI certification by Microsoft, which is an exam called PL300. This is an exam that Microsoft offers. It's probably an hour or a little bit longer exam. And this exam covers most of the topics that we are going to cover in these 5 days, but it has a lot more details in it. So if you want to prepare for this PL300 exam, there are Udemy courses, there are many other resources I can help you with that, which is going to take you close to 30 hours of instruction, and then about 20 to 30 hours of lab. So you're going to need about good 50 to 60 hour of study time to prepare for the exam. It's not that it's a very difficult exam. It's just that all the details that is in the exam. Okay. So if anyone is interested pursuing this, let me know. Or if you already have the resources, follow that. But we are not, our scope is not for this exam But most of these topics in the exam, we're going to learn about them. But we are not just going to go into very much into the details. And if you see, this exam has 4 modules or 4 areas: preparing the data, modeling data, visualizing, and then configuration of Power BI. So this is a very, I have done a couple of Microsoft certifications so far, and this is a very common thing with Microsoft, because these are hosted solutions in the cloud, and there are a lot of connectivity. There is a management, administration, and also security portion of Power BI. So that's going to be about 15 to 20% of the preparation material. But as you see, most of it is preparing data, modeling data, and visualizing and analyzing the data. So that is most of the certification. And then Microsoft also wants you to know, if you are Power BI certified, how do you do all the administration part of the Power BI and the ecosystem. So if you want to learn more about this, look at this link I will share with you later on, and you will find the topics that are covered in the PL 300 study guide. Anyone have any question? All right. So let's talk about data analysis, because this course is about data analysis. What is data analysis? In a simple term, data analysis is actually analyzing data, right? But analyzing means inspecting, cleaning, transforming, modeling. There are multiple things involved. So, if you say I cook, biryani, or I cook, something, like what is the definition of cooking? The definition of cooking is really cooking. You put your meat in the stove, in a pan, and you have the recipe and you cook, right? But before you cook and after you cook, there are many other things involved. You need to go get the materials or get the ingredients. You need to clean them, cut them, shape them. You need to marinate them. Then you cook them. And then even after cooking, you have to serve it. You have to taste it. You have to clean up, right? So all of that. So if you think about data analysis, the actual analysis is, looking at the data, creating the graph. But before and after, there are so many other things involved. And Microsoft does one very good thing, which is the data analysis pipeline, like inspection, cleanup, transforming, modeling. If you learn about Power BI, you're going to see everything is kind of embedded, right? So we first going to start, looking at the data today. I created a data file for this class, mock data file. And I will tell you how I created this data file as well. It's very interesting data file that you will see. And then we'll talk about, some cleanup of this data file. We're going to talk about some transformation and then modeling and then, getting the insight. So all of that you're going to learn by doing. Okay. So I'm not going to give you a lot of theory, but some theory is going to come in, with the lecture. Otherwise, you might do the practical, but then you don't know, what does it mean. So that's why. And the goal of data analysis is to discover, useful insights. Okay. And at the end, if you say, why am I doing data analysis? Whether you're going to buy a car, you're going to, choose a restaurant, you are going to make a decision on a multi-million-dollar acquisition, right? It's informing your decision. Like if you think about, you are looking for a restaurant, you went to, Colorado or Washington State, and you're looking for like halal restaurants, for example. Okay, you search maybe with a halal restaurant or Indian restaurant or Chinese restaurant halal or whatever. Then you start looking. What decision do you make by looking at those? Is there any data involved? Anyone? I'm asking a question to all of you. Like, what is your definition of, how do you do a search? Maybe first thing we look at is the rating, right? I'm not going to go to a restaurant which has a rating of maybe 2.0 and maybe 4.5, 4.8. Okay, those are good restaurants. What do you do after that? After looking at the rating? Anyone?
Look at the menu.
Look at the menu, okay? But even before you look at the rating or look at the menu, if you are arriving there at an odd time, what do you look at? If the restaurant is open,
The business hour.
yeah, their business hour. Now, even in Google, there is a feature called if they're open right now, right? So you want to look at, so all these things that you're looking at, what are you doing by looking at that? You are making a data-driven decision, right? That you have some criteria. You want to have this kind of cuisine. Then you have some criteria. It has to have a good rating. Then you have some criteria. It has to be open. In a lot of time, I look at the restaurants and look at their, the dollar rating, right? Like, is it a very expensive restaurant? Is it, a restaurant that is, casual, right? So all of that, depending on, what kind of environment you have, what kind of mood you have. And then all of that you are doing, you are actually analyzing data and you are making a decision. So anytime we analyze data, our goal is to make a decision. If we don't make a decision, then why do we need the data for, right? So data will always have a decision to make or decision to support. And that's why we call the supporting the decision. Even though it sounds very trivial, but this is a big, big factor when you are making decision for a multi-million or multi-billion dollar acquisition or something that's going to have a lot of impact on people's welfare, people's life, all of that. And also, data analysis is common across business, science, healthcare, government, and more. Many of us here are involved with the government, with the education industry. We know that how important, decisions are and data-driven decisions are. So I think I already talked about, why it matters because, better decision making. Now, when you make a decision based on data, right? For example, this restaurant case, you pick the best restaurant possible that is open right now, that has the best menu after all of that. Then you went to the restaurant and you had a really bad experience, right? That happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but there will be once or twice that will happen. What does that mean? Does that mean that analyzing data and making decision is wrong? No. It means, that we have made our decision based on every possible information that is available, but it happened to be a bad decision. Not every decision we're going to make should be correct or should be, should have a positive outcome or the outcome that we want. But we need to make sure that every decision we make is based on the informed data, the data that we have available. So otherwise, we are what we call is, you are doing just, your crystal ball, you are just doing something and then just telling, a coin toss and telling that, oh yeah, this restaurant is good, this restaurant is not good. There is a 50-50 chance. But if you don't do that, then you are actually making decision based on the information. That's what we want to do. And that's the reason why, data analysis is important. All right. Okay. Now quickly, different types of data. And there are more, but these are some common ones. So when we think about data analysis and the type of data, think about like three major types. First type is the structured data. As it mentions, structured data is like, think about like you have a big closet, right? A very fancy closet. It has many cabinets, it has, place for hanging your coats and long dresses, place for your shoes and everything. So that's the type of structure we have for a structured data. For example, numbers. Okay. Most of the programming languages or most of the databases, you're going to declare that, this variable is a number. Age, it's a number. It's an integer. Or you can say price, it's a double, right? It has a decimal. So these are very highly structured, highly defined items or variables that if you say what it is, you actually know what it is right away. Okay. Numbers, dates, strings, right? Strings can have numbers, but strings are treated differently than numbers. If you say, age is a integer, which is, 20, and then you say string, age is a string and it has a value of 20. there is a difference, right? Because the 20 that is integer is treated as number 20. The 20 that is stored as a string, what is it treated as? Anybody knows? It is treated as number 2 and number 0, right? It's not treated as 20 as a number. It is treated as like A, B, and there is an A and there is a B. So that's the difference. So structured data is going to tell us exactly how we can interpret the data, what the data actually means, and all of that. So this is going to come in handy. We're going to actually mostly work with the structured data and some semi-structured data. But when I go and show you some of the structures of the data, keep this conversation in mind, and we're going to see that in Power BI, and we're also going to play with that as well. All right. So that's what we're going to deal mostly in this class. And then we have unstructured data. As it mentions, it is unstructured. It doesn't have any structure. Think about this as you have a closet, but it doesn't have any cabinets or anything. What do you do when you don't have cabinets? You put your shoebox somewhere, and then on top of your shoebox, what do you put? Like maybe something else, right? And then on top of that, something else. Beside that, something else. It has all the stuff in there that you need, but doesn't have any structure. It's all piled up. That is exactly what unstructured data is. Okay. You can have text, images, audio, video, social media post. These are usually structured, these are usually, stored as unstructured data. Unstructured doesn't actually mean that it's unaccounted for. They have tags. For example, if you are storing like in your Facebook, if you are, or in your Instagram, whatever social media that you have, or think about like, our WhatsApp group, right? When you are posting text, WhatsApp knows that this is a text data, and it stores the text data in the text. It also knows when you are posting an image, right? Even though you're not telling it that I am actually posting this kind of information, it will structure it with some type of tag. And then those tags are going to actually tell you, later on how you work with them. So when we are collecting a lot of data, in a production, environment that are coming from different media streams, and we don't know exactly when and what will come in. So we have unstructured data, and there is different database that you can store, like MongoDB, for example. We're not going to learn about unstructured data in this class, but there are tools and methodologies on how to work with unstructured data. All right. And the third type is semi-structured data. And we also going to work with semi-structured data. Why is it called semi-structured? Anyone has any idea why? Anyone?
It's probably not structured well enough to define something.
Exactly. It's not structured well. What is not structured well? It's like, think about this. I'll give you the same example of your closet. Now, you went to a new house and you have your closet, and you just see that it just has 1 feet by 1 feet cubes. That's it, right? Doesn't say what it is. There is nothing tagged. There is nothing. It just has some cubes. So what you do is you start putting things in there. It has some structure, but not the type of structure that you want. It doesn't call what is number, what is integer, all of the details. CSV file or Excel files are good examples. You have in CSV, like you sometimes have comma delimited, right? Or you have semicolon delimited values. So if you look at the CSV file, just a flat file, you're not going to know what it means. But if you know that this comma actually means a new column, now you understand, and this is so synonymous with Excel or other, tools that we use, that if you now create a CSV file and you say, well, name, comma, age, comma, city, let's say you have the three, columns. And then when you upload that or when you open that with Excel, it will actually understand that when you have a comma, it is a CSV file, comma separated value. So it's actually going to add, three columns for that. So that's the semi-structured data. HTML is semi-structured, right? HTML, if you look at a web page's HTML, code, it has different tags. What is your text body? What is the font size? What is the color? All the details. If you look at a JSON, JavaScript object notation or XML file, it will tell you what field and what does it mean. So it is not fully structured like in a tabular format that ready to use, but you can take the data, you can actually parse it through something, and then you can start actually using that. Why do we use semi-structured data? Why don't we just use everything structured? Semi-structured data actually has a lot of advantage. You can pair a system which is maybe written in Java to a system which is written in Python, right? If you want to do a structured data connection between the two, you have to create a database, you have to connect both of the systems to the database. Your system might be too old and you cannot do that. There are a lot of complexities. With the semi-structured data, because it's in a flat file, you can connect the two systems very easily using this is JSON, XML, or CSV files. These are so basic that almost any software that you write with any programming language will be able to understand. So whether you have a very sophisticated system like Salesforce versus you have a very old 10-year-old software that was written in maybe Java or C++, you will be able to connect the two. So that's why semi-structured data is very powerful, because they help connect multiple systems, and it doesn't matter which kind of programming language they're written or what kind of platform they're running. So when you combine semi-structured with the structured data, you actually get a lot of power on your hand. And these are the two things we're going to look at mostly in this class. Unstructured data is even more powerful, and you can actually do a lot more very fast. But that's something that, if you want to learn more, there are some additional resources that you can take a look at. All right. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time here to talk about data structure. So, this is applicable to our class. Anyone has any question about this? Anyone?
Not yet.
All right. Good.
We're good.
Okay, so let me make a quick change to my slides. Give me 1 second. Need this here. Okay, so now let's talk about what is Power BI. So you probably have heard about the term Power BI and the name, right? That's why you are in this class. Power BI means Power Business Intelligence. BI actually means business intelligence. It is a tool developed and marketed by Microsoft. So a little bit of history about Power BI, and that will actually make a lot of sense to you. Power BI was initially developed as a add-on to Microsoft Excel. Okay, you probably have heard about pivot tables in Excel, right? Pivot table is one of the tools that is still exists in Excel, but Power BI initially used to have pivot table and other features, creating charts and graphs. So what Microsoft did at one point, they basically decoupled that feature from Excel, because they probably have business reason. Now they can have a new product, they can market it. But there is also another reason, I think, is because when you try to enrich one tool too much, like you make Power BI and Excel together, it's going to take more space, it's going to take more RAM. When it's running, it's going to be slower, right? You're going to need higher system configuration to run it. I think Fayez was already telling me today that Power BI runs a little bit slow. Is it working properly, Fayez, or still slow? All right, I don't know if Faiz is listening, but he was telling me that Power BI runs a little bit slow. Yeah, it will actually run a little bit slower than your Excel because it has a lot more memory requirements. And we can install Power BI in our computers. So at some point, Microsoft actually decoupled Power BI and Excel and started their own product, part of the Power offering. So Power is actually it's not just Power Business Intelligence. Power is a line of product by Microsoft. They have another, ecosystem. Actually, Power BI ecosystem has another major player called Power Tools. So just like, power tools that you have in your garage, your drills and bits, Power Tools can help you create multiple different types of apps very quickly. They are low code, no code type of platforms. So you can actually rapidly build something and deploy that, in your platform very quickly. So Power BI actually became part of that ecosystem. But just so you know that most of the features that we're gonna see in Power BI, if you're familiar with Excel, it's gonna make a lot more sense. And think about the Power BI as one of the boosted version of Excel. It has a lot of power. You can publish, you can share, but at the same time, a lot of the features of Power BI is very similar to the Excel. Okay. It has very good visualization and insights. Many of the visualizations that you're going to see in Power BI, those are much more advanced than what Excel has. It does have the simple visualizations that Excel offer, but it also has some very advanced one. And we're going to start looking at some of that today. It has also a feature which is very effective called interactive dashboard. So creating a dashboard is something we're actually going to create our dashboard today, but also interactive dashboard. That means you can actually work with the dashboard. You can click on something and then you can actually see. It's like almost like you're watching a movie, which is Excel.
So
But
it's
then
like more like drill down capabilities and all that,
drill
right?
down capabilities, exactly. You can actually slide and you can actually, slice as well. You can drill down, you can slice, all of that. So, that's the comparison I was giving. One is like you are watching a movie, right? Or a TV show. And the other one is you are actually inside it. You can actually make a change to the script. So that is exactly what Power BI brings in. So it is very powerful. I have worked with multiple projects where when we showed Power BI, dashboards to the sponsors or customers, and we showed them some insights, they were amazed by the amount of information from the same data that they were looking at that they never thought possible. So a lot of business decisions that you make when you are creating interactive dashboards, you actually give your customers or your users the power to actually make the decision themselves. They are obviously listening to you. You are the data analyst, data science person, but also they have they can understand and they can interact with the data as well. All right. So, and you're going to learn all of that in this class. Power BI has a couple of things, Power BI Desktop, which is the preliminary platform we're going to work with. So the Power BI that you're going to work with is going to be in your local machine. And then there is also a Power BI cloud service where typically, we get a free version or we can get a trial version. But if you really want to use it, you have to have a subscription. And that's something that if your organization, your company, your office, or your agency might already have. But if you really want to try out, you can try out, for a month or so. And then there is also Power BI Mobile, where you can access reports on the go in your mobile phone. And then there is Power BI Gateway service that you can connect to, different types of data. You within one Power BI instance, you can connect your SQL database, you can connect a data source from your cloud, you can connect a CSV file. So all of that, if you are running an enterprise level solution, then Power BI Gateway will be something that you might need. All right. So these are the Power BI ecosystem. We are mainly going to use the first one, which is the Power BI desktop. Think about this as your kind of programming interface. You're writing all of your code, you're doing all of your analysis in that, and then the other three are kind of, their extension of what you are doing. Questions, comments? This is what Power BI will look like when you first, open up and if you create some of the visuals. It has a very clean, neat interface, right? If you look at the top, it looks very much like the Excel. It has home, insert, modeling, view, external tools. It has data source. So it doesn't look exactly like Excel or Microsoft Word because it is not part of the, that ecosystem. But it has a very clean, neat interface. Okay, and we can interact with that today. I took this screenshot straight from Power BI's installation page. So, this is a very nice one, and I thought I would share with you. All right. So now, for the remainder of the time, we're going to go into our hands-on lab. So every week, we're going to do hands-on lab. I might give a few minutes of overview, and then we're going to jump into it, and we're going to start doing things, and we're going to learn by doing. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is install Power BI. All right. So are you ready to install Power BI, everyone? So two ways you can install Power BI. First is type Power BI installation in your Google or whatever search bar you have, and then go to the Microsoft link, download Microsoft Power BI Desktop. So this is one way. When you go in here, select your language as English, and then just click on download and follow the instruction. It will tell you x64 or setup. I think 64 is the one that you need, or just try whichever one you want, and 64 or 128. So you can just install that. All right. There is a second way to install Power BI too, which is actually easier. Is in Windows search, you have a store, Microsoft Store. Just like the App Store in your phone, every Microsoft, Windows operating system now has a store built in. So you just click on the Microsoft Store. This is actually better because I'll show you, it will tell you the exact version of Power BI that your system can run. Or it's taking me a second to load. So when you go in here, when the store loads, in the search bar, it is loading a little bit slow. Let's see why. Okay, in search bar, just type Power BI. And hit enter. So when you search for Power BI, the first one that will show up, Power BI Desktop, just install that. Not the report builder, we will have report builder already, part of the Power BI, but just install the Power BI Desktop and recall that this is the image I was showing you. And I have it installed or opened, right? So you just click here, install. It might take you 2, 3, 4 minutes and just install it if you are in the screen right now. And please let me know if you are done with installing or what is going on. Cheyenne, can you install it?
Yeah, I have it installed.
You have it installed, okay. Anyone? Abdullah, are you trying? Or Sharfaraz Bhai, are you doing?
Yeah, I already installed
Okay.
through the store.
Anyone trying right now? And just let us know how is it going, how long it takes.
I have already installed it.
Okay. So most of you have already installed. Okay. So if you are installing, just finish installation. And if you are actually, done with installation, just then we can start working with Power BI. Okay. So let's say you have installed the Power BI. I'm just going to close this and in your Windows, just type in Power BI. And the first thing you're going to see as you type up, if you have it installed, you're going to see this Power BI desktop. So as I mentioned, we're only going to be working with the desktop. So click on Power BI desktop and the Power BI will launch. I don't know why my computer is acting so slow, but
Ran out of memory by.
I actually bought this computer from Fayaz, and he assured me that this is capable of
Really? Fayaz, you
good work.
shortchange your daddy? Huh?
It
No,
has
didn't give him enough memory. Huh?
Yeah. So it is launching. All right. So this is the Power BI service. Something is making my computer slow. So let me see. It will launch. So anyone who is installing, just finish installation. And if you're done with installing, just, start your Power BI. And I'm going to share a file with you right now in the chat. And I will also have this file, in the email. So please download this file and we're going to start looking at this file before we analyze our data. So let me just share that with everyone. Okay, it's not letting me share a file. File from my computer.
Anybody here use any other reporting tool in their work? Because there are few other ones.
Yeah, we use Cognos report for IT.
Yeah, Cognos is one of the very, very old one because big time. Yeah,
We are
then
planning to switch to Power BI.
yeah, probably government project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were using Tableau a lot before Power BI.
Tableau, Click, Power BI, then SAP has a business object. That's what I used to use a lot for my project. So there are few ones, but I think Salesforce bought Tableau, right?
Yeah, Tableau actually got bought by Salesforce. Exactly. And then I think there were probably more. Salesforce itself had a lot of analytical capability, right?
Yeah.
But then Salesforce bought Tableau, and now they are integrating most of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So let me open up this data, and I'll just talk very briefly what this data is all about before I load that into Power BI. So this data, this data is actually synthetic data. I created this data set today using a large language model. Actually gave some instruction, and based on the instruction, this data was created. And I'll tell you a little bit about this data. And even though it is synthetic, totally fake data, I'm not going to use
Which model did you use, Faisal bhai?
Huh?
Which model did you use?
I used GPT 4.0.
GPT 4.0.
4.5.
4.5. Oh,
Yeah.
the newer one.
Yeah, I have access to 4.5, so I just used it. But you can do that using any.
Yeah, this.
So I'm going to actually start loading, but sorry, my computer is running. I did a mistake. I was running something, and then I did not restart my computer before the class. So next time, I'll make sure that I do that. Okay, so if I open up this data, if anyone open up, this data has 6 columns. Okay, what I did to create this data, because that GPT 4.5, and I think now ChatGPT and most of the tools can do internet search. I asked it, can you give me 20 products that are the most sold product in Amazon? And it actually, did some research, went into the web and found me 20 products. And then I said, well, then I want this couple of countries like US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, a couple other countries. I want to create a data set that my salespeople are actually selling those products into different countries. And that's exactly what this data set actually did. So this data set has, salesperson name, the product name, when they sold, how much they sold, and and the quantity. So that information and the country's name. So I intentionally created a very simple data set, 6 columns, and about a little bit more than 1,000 rows, just to show you some insights into Power BI. So today and in the next class, we're going to work with this data set. Okay, and with this data set, we're actually going to learn some good insights about analyzing data. I didn't want to start with a very complex data set, but if you learn this data, it's going to actually make things much, much better for you. Okay, so my data set is opening Excel. Okay, I'm just going to go straight to Power BI and load the data. Okay, so if you are in Power BI, the first thing that you should click on, does everybody see this screen? Click on Excel workbook. You can click on a blank report and then add your data, but since we are already given the option, I'm going to just click on Excel workbook. And when you click on the Excel workbook, you're going to be coming into this screen. And in this screen, just, since I gave you an Excel file, I could actually have given you a different type of file and, we could say get source from other data. For now, just, click on the import data from Excel and then click on this file and just say open. So when you do that, Power BI will load that Excel file into its memory and it will actually open a window for you. And just waiting for that window to open.
So, we can't see your screen itself. It's just your name is only showing up.
Are you talking to us?
Yeah.
I could not hear you. What did you say?
I can see the screen.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
you
can also see.
right? Okay, it is taking a little bit. My computer is running slow today for some reason. So. Okay. So when you load these, okay, and if you see the data set, there is a tab in that Excel that's called Wildcard 2024. So I created a fictitious company called Wildcard, because you are selling globally your products. So that's why the data is from 2024, few months of 2024 sales data. So the tab name is Wildcard 2024. So something very important is that you might be working with a Excel file or some type of other file that has many tabs, right? So all of the tabs are going to show up here. So you just have to select the tabs that you really need. So in this case, I only have one tab and I'm going to just click on that and say, I'm just going to say a load. And it's going to load the data. So now you can see that all the information I was telling you, I have my salesperson, my country, the product, the date that it was sold, the amount, and the boxes shipped. So anybody, just a quick thing to notice. Does anybody see any difference between how, you know, um, CeraVe eye cream or AirPods Pro versus January 4, 2024 is written? Anybody see any difference? Any visible difference? What is the difference? Or amount? Do you see that the date and the amount are written in italic?
Yeah.
It's because Power BI, when it's ingesting this data, it's already understanding that the date is not string. It's actually some type of number. Amount is some type of number. The number of boxes, it's actually some type of number. So Power BI by default will show you these numbers in italic. So it is actually detecting that by analyzing this column and saying, hey, look, this column, there is no letters or there is no other, no other thing. It looks like this is in a numeric format. So therefore, this is numeric and it's marking it as, italic. So we're gonna just click on the load and directly load this data. We're not gonna do any transformation right now. We're just gonna load this data. And when you load, now this data is part of your Power BI file. Okay, so you already ingested your data, your ingestion is done. We're gonna work with that previous screen in the future. In that screen, you can do some cleanup, pre-cleanup. You can actually discard some data. You might, the reason why, you might load a data file that has 1 million rows. And yeah, your Power BI is going to take a long time if it actually loads the data file with 1 million row. But then you're going to realize that I don't really need this 1 million row. If I actually now work with this 1 million row, my Power BI is going to be very slow. My file is going to be very large, all of that. I'm just going to take 1,000 rows and delete everything else. So that's when you actually clean up. And then after you do your cleanup, then you load the data. So now, you actually have, it is loading your data. So once you are loading, this screen is showing up.
You guys just want to just add something. I think, I don't know if you guys familiar with the term ETL.
Yep.
Anybody?
Extract, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, extraction, then transformation, then load.
And load, yeah.
That's
exactly.
what Faisal Bhai is kind of explaining here.
Yeah.
That's
But
Mm.
I think, Kamal Bhai, you will agree that the actual ETL with Cognos or something else, Power BI made it like
Yeah,
it's easy, right?
exactly. Because you had to have like programmers do the ETL part before,
Exactly.
right? Like you basically do coding, scripting languages to do those things.
Yep.
But now a lot of these are GUI based things, so you very easily drag and drop features.
Exactly. I just realized why my computer is running slow, because I'm recording this Zoom in my computer. So next time I will record that in the cloud. That's the reason why. It is processing video at the same time doing other things. So okay, once it loads, we will see the data, the same data that you saw, because I haven't made any change. It will look exactly like same, but that's the data that you can work with, you can interact with. And as this is loading, this pen that you see, visualization, this is going to be our best friend. So you will be able to create so many different types of charts with this pen here, right here, that it's unbelievable. You'll be able to create maps right here. You'll be able to create bar charts, pie charts. Many of these you are probably familiar with from Excel, right? But even within these types of charts, there are advanced features that Power BI has that Excel doesn't have. And you'll be able to actually do so. My file had 1035 rows and 1035 rows are loaded. Okay, so since this is loaded, I'm just going to actually close it and then just click on here. This, this table icon on the left. This table icon is going to say my computer is slow because it is processing video at the same time. It is going to load these 6 columns first: salesperson, country, product, date, amount, boxes shipped, and then it is going to show you the 1000 rows as well. Okay, just it will take maybe a few seconds, but we're gonna start jumping into our first report. So if you click on this on the left hand side, report view, this is actually what we're gonna need. So this is where you have your data right here. You have, see, now it loaded. So all these data that I just showed you in that Excel file, they are all here. So 1035 rows are here. There is another one. This is actually our data model, and I'll talk about this more in future class, not today. But as I was telling you that, if you click on maybe salesperson, salesperson is a data type that is text. Amount, we have amount. Amount is a data type that is decimal number, which is an double. Boxes shipped is a whole number, which is what we call whole number in the computer science language. Anyone?
Come on, computer science majors.
Integer.
Integer, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so all this Power BI actually understood what it is, and it actually put all of that. So that is the data model, and we're gonna start talking about it later on. And then you have the DAX, which is a programming language type interface that actually we're gonna talk about that. This is not part of our course, but we will do a very quick introduction later on. All right. So with that, let's go back to our report builder or report view. This is the core of our class. All right. So now that we have the data already loaded on our left hand side, see data, all the data is sitting right there. Our columns: amount, box says shipped, country, date, product, salesperson. Here, this is going to be sorted by your order of the column, like A, B, C, D. It's not going to be in the same order as the column that we have. So that's perfectly fine. If you have 10, 20 columns, it is much easier to find it this way. So first, let's create a bar chart or column chart that we call. What we're going to do is click on it, and it will actually bring it here. All right, so you're going to see a column chart. It kind of looks like a ghost. It doesn't have anything, but it is a column chart. It will come in live in a few minutes. So now that you have a column chart, what do you want to display on the column? You're going to be able to display something on the x-axis, and you're going to be able to display something on the y-axis. That's what the column chart means, right? So let's say we want to display maybe the countries and sales. Okay, so if we want to display that in each column will tell me how much each country we sold. So in our x-axis, what are we going to have in that case? Anyone? We're going to have the countries, right? And in the y-axis, which is right here, we're going to have the amount sold. All right, so if we know that, it's going to be very easy. So we have x-axis and y-axis. So x-axis, we're going to take the country, okay, and we're going to drag it to x-axis.
Can it be like a vice versa, like the country in the y-axis and the amount in x-axis?
Yeah, it can be, but then it will not make any sense, because the bar chart that you are showing here, it goes vertically. But if you look at a horizontal chart, then that will probably make more sense. But yeah, you can actually display any data, anyway. whichever way you like to display. So let's do that first, and then we can obviously play with the other way as well. So we're gonna click on country.
Faisal bhai,
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Does Power BI define the data type or categorize it as facts and dimensions, or those type like dimensional data, fact data type things? Or
What do you mean, like what are the
like dimensions will be like, the data is like country is a dimension, or your where, what, those kind of like measurement types, like the question that you're trying to answer, that becomes the dimensional data, and the amount, the sales, those becomes the fact data. So I mean, so that's where like some of the other tools, they will basically want to categorize your data into these categories, which that's what I never used Power BI. That's why
It's a very good question. I haven't actually seen any concept of dimension here, but as you mentioned, like country, right? Power BI actually has capability. It can look at a column and say, because it is tied with some AI, it can actually tell what kind of data is in that column.
Yeah, exactly. Now
So
it's
it
much more
does some of
easier.
that.
Yeah.
It does some of that on the back end. Okay, so we actually put the country on the x-axis, and then we're going to put the amount on the y-axis. Actually, as you see, first one that you click goes to x-axis, second one that you click goes to y-axis. So what happened now, if you look at this chart, all the countries that we have and their overall sale, right here, it created that data from, chart from the data. All right. And this is our first chart. And we can actually do another chart that says, let's do another chart that says, we're going to now, we looked at, okay, our country and sales. Now we're going to look at something interesting. We're going to actually, let me make it a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to bring in another chart. Let's say now we're going to bring in this type of chart. It can be anything, just showing you another chart here. And this chart is going to show the salesperson and their sales. So we have first country and their sale, which country, how much did you sell? And then we're going to have another chart that will say which salesperson and how much did they sell. So in this one, as you are mentioning, now we're going to do it a little bit differently. So here, for this chart, we're going to put in our x-axis, we're going to put the name of the salesperson. So our salesperson, it actually has y-axis first. So we have to pick the y-axis. Y-axis is going to be amount. And then our, sorry. Okay. We're going to do the amount in our x-axis. And then we're going to do the salesperson in our y-axis. So now you're going to see all the salespeople we have, Abigail, Caleb, Chloe. As you can recall, I actually said to the large language model that my sales team is based on the US, so name them appropriately. So that's why these names are coming from. All right. So that's what the large language model understood. And these are the names that it came. So now what is it telling me? That the salesperson and how much did they sell? So as you can see, this data is actually sorted from, top to bottom, right? Like in this data, for example, it shows most of our sales is happening in Australia. And then our sales is happening in the US, then New Zealand, then Canada, then UK, then Sweden, then Germany. Okay, so now you see the interaction. So let me click on Australia first. So now what it shows you is that, so as soon as you are clicking on Australia, The other chart is actually shrinking its dimension, only looking at the sales in Australia. So if you look at Australia, your highest seller, Abigail, actually is not the highest seller for Australia. Your highest seller for Australia is who? Is probably Caleb, right? But Abigail is your overall highest seller. But if you want to see Australian sale, Caleb, what is Ella and Aria, Owen, they are doing the most amount of sales. If you now, click on USA, now you see in your USA, Jackson is the highest seller. On the other hand, now, let's see if I click on Abigail on this chart, I will see Abigail is actually selling mostly in Canada and UK and Sweden. Australia and USA is very low in Abigail's, overall sales. I can click on, Zoe, and you can see Zoe actually sells a lot in New Zealand. Okay. If you click on New Zealand, on the other hand, just randomly, I'm clicking on these charts. I click on New Zealand, double click on this chart. I think I have to click out and then double click. If I double click on the New Zealand, it will show me who's selling how much in New Zealand. Okay, New Zealand, one time. Okay, so New Zealand, as you see, Zoe is actually selling a lot. He's the highest seller, right? I click on Sweden. Who is the highest seller in Sweden? Abigail. I click on Madison. Where does Madison sell the most? USA and then Canada. Okay. Noah. I click on Noah. Noah sells mostly in Australia and then UK. So and you hover over this, you're going to see all these different types of information. How much he sold, and highlighted is how much. So overall sale in New Zealand is, $1.2 billion. But in our case, not $1.2 million, but in our case, Noah actually sold $40,000, in 2024 in the time frame to New Zealand, and you can get all these insights. All right. So I think I'm over time, and this is what we are doing today. And in the next class, we will go over more, and more visualization. Any questions, anyone?
Can you send this data through the email because I
Yeah,
wasn't
I'm going
able
to send you
to.
the data. I'm also going to send you the, file that I just worked on here.
Okay, thank you.
So both of that will be.
Maybe should we set a shared Google Drive directory or something so the files can be shared that way? Will it be easier?
We can do that as well. Yeah. I can actually, I put
Okay.
everything in Google Drive. I can share the Google Drive with everyone.
Yeah, that might be easier than trying to email data files.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Take
That
too
way
much
you have the whole
space.
repository, right? Okay. Yeah.
What any feedback, like what do you guys think so far of this course? Any quick feedback, anything that you find can be different or you like so far, the pace, what we are going through? I really like the format though. I think it makes very good sense, like how you are going through the journey from the beginning to so slowly getting into the details of things.
Yep. And I think, we're going to work a lot on this area of Power BI, right? And I think as we go every day, you're going to get much more familiar with the Power BI, and some of the data analysis concept you're going to learn by doing.
Yeah, and with this reporting, you guys, I don't know, I've been working with the reporting side for many years. It's very critical, and I mean, once you get a hang of it, you will see it's very interesting. And And there is definitely a law, even though the AI is taking a lot of these tasks, but at the end of the day, it's human intelligence is still needed, right? So someone have to look, verify, make sure the automation or whatever we do, they actually are doing the right thing. So for that, you gotta really understand the inner works of how things are actually happening behind the scene. That's the more critical part.
The
Okay.
main thing on this one I see is more interactive. The data is you are clicking in one place and it is showing all the distribution on the other graph. It is very interactive.
Yep. And the good thing is, if we publish it, it's actually just one click and publish, and it will show it as a web page. Even in there, it is going to be interactive. So you can create a very nice looking interactive diagram here. You publish it, you deploy that, you put that in your production site or somewhere. People will go in there, they will see your reports, and it's live. You don't have to contact any developer. You don't have to create anything. It's just, published right away. Very powerful. All right. Anyone have any questions? All right. If no questions, I'm going to share the files with you in a shared folder and send you the link. I have your email. If you didn't send us your email, please post it in the WhatsApp. That way we will have all of your email addresses.